Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. From the perspective of the chip foundry industry, TSMC is a well-deserved big boss, taking more than 60% of the market share. More importantly, TSMC alone takes 90% of the chips below 7 nanometers, and there is no rival. However, TSMC is a company in Taiwan province, but it does not listen to China, but only to the United States. So the only company that China can really rely on is SMIC in the mainland. It is the cornerstone of the development of China's chip industry, especially as the US sanctions on China's chip industry become more and more stringent. Everyone's expectations for SMIC are getting higher and higher. A few days ago, many media broke the news that TSMC suspended the foundry service of 7 nanometers AI chips for mainland Chinese companies. So far, it can be said that SMIC has become the hope of the whole village, and it must get the 7 nanometers process. Before this year, SMIC has been ranked 5th in the world in the ranking of global chip foundries. But in 2024, it surpassed GlobalFoundries and UMC in one fell swoop, and has ranked 3rd in the world, only inferior to Samsung and TSMC. According to the data in the third quarter of 2024, SMIC's revenue was $2.171 billion, a year-on-year increase of 32.5% and a month-on-month increase of 14.2%. This is also the first time that the quarterly revenue has exceeded $2 billion. Not surprisingly, the gap with GlobalFoundries and UMC has widened again. In addition, the net profit in the third quarter was 1.06 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 56.4%. The gross profit margin was 20.5%, and the capacity utilization rate exceeded 90%. It can be said that all indicators are very good. From a technical point of view, in 2019, after introducing Liang Mengsong, SMIC has mastered the 14 nanometers FinFET process, and also planned N+1 and N+2 processes, which are benchmarked against 7 nanometers and 5 nanometers processes. But later, SMIC only announced the 14 nanometers FinFET, and no longer announced the specific process progress. No one knows to what extent it has reached. However, everyone knows that it is definitely not just the 14 nanometers FinFET technology. I don't need to say it too clearly. How did HUAWEI's mobile phone chip come from and what process it is? I don't need to say more. At present, the main factor affecting SMIC's performance should be the production capacity of advanced processes. After all, under the extreme suppression of the United States, it is still a bit difficult for the domestic supply chain to keep up and ensure the yield. For restricted AI and GPU chips, TSMC and the US Department of Commerce are still negotiating specific control details. In the future, chips that meet certain conditions may continue to be produced at TSMC by applying for licenses. This news is undoubtedly a severe challenge for AI and GPU companies in mainland China. Without TSMC's advanced process technology support, these companies may face greater pressure in terms of product performance and market competitiveness. At the same time, This may also prompt mainland China's chip design companies to accelerate the search for new foundry partners to cope with the uncertainty and risks of the supply chain. The only hope in China is SMIC. Of course, some people also mentioned that Samsung can be found abroad. But Samsung's yield and process are a problem, and Samsung may not dare to accept orders. SMIC's problem is insufficient production capacity. At present, the part of SMIC's orders that are soft is still 12 nanometers. According to financial data, Samsung Electronics and SMIC have a market share of no more than 10% in 7 nanometers and below advanced processes. The United States has put forward stricter requirements for TSMC, but now the United States is in the transition stage between the current President Biden and the new President Trump. It is not known whether the United States will implement the requirements to prevent TSMC from manufacturing chips for mainland China during Biden's term, or take measures after Trump takes office. TSMC has now become the world's most advanced chip foundry, and even Samsung can't keep up. TSMC, which has no competitors, now has more say and makes a lot of money. TSMC's net profit margin has exceeded 40%, but TSMC plans to further increase the foundry price by 10% next year. It can be said that TSMC is already a money-printing machine. This can be said that no industry can be monopolized by a company's technology. TSMC's trust monopoly is so great that no government dares to initiate an antitrust investigation. How far can a company develop to be the end? In the future, will it really be a state of mutual checks and balances among the nominal government, the local actual government, and the enterprise actual government? This is too unthinkable. In the past, it was scholars, farmers, merchants and industrialists, but now the word business dominates the world. But as the hope of Chinese chips, SMIC will certainly live up to expectations. Next, SMIC will definitely grow into the TSMC of mainland China. What do you think?